Welcome to This Is Salvation,
a podcast brought to you by Albury Media.
Through real stories, real faith and real hope, we hope you'll experience the life-changing power of salvation.
I don't know why it feels more formal.
Oh no,
more
yeah,
official.
it does. With you in here, we were
know,
dafter.
yeah.
Not slapped.
I'm like sitting here like,
We were dafter in the other one.
well, you can't, well, it might get that way. I was trying to be proper and polite for once. Go, and we go, how many episodes have we done? I've said it all.
It's really good to let your tension out.
What?
I've done this at work
Farting.
before.
Kind of feel you need to just keep that bit in because that's quite fun. Good, so, tell me when you're ready, boys.
Welcome back to This Is Salvation. I'm Luke and I'm joined by Adele as always. How are you, Adele?
Hello, I'm good, thank you.
So today's conversation is a little different. Something most of us has probably felt at some point. Have you ever been angry with God? And to help us do that, we're joined by someone who talks about faith in comfortable places, but also takes it to the hardest ones. We have Estelle here.
Hello, how are you?
I'm good. So Estelle is from the Salvation Army's Anti-Trafficking and Modern Slavery Department. That's right.
Yeah.
Before we get into today, do you want to tell us a bit about that, a bit about yourself?
I am the daughter of Salvation Army officers who are no longer with us, sadly. I have been commissioned as a Salvation Army officer now for 33 plus years. And
You're not that old, are you?
I am, and I'm proud of every grey hair on my head because I've worked hard to get it. I am for my sorrows and joys that keep me thinking and believing in hope. I am a supporter of Norwich City Football Club. Yeah, exactly. You've got to be hopeful when you support the Canaries, which is quite useful because at the moment I live in Manchester. So the conversation is, are you a red or a blue? And you go, no, I'm a yellow. And it throws them all off for a bit. So that's kind of fun. I love reading. My favourite book is Pride and Prejudice. And I've got 60 plus editions of one book.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow,
Yeah,
my goodness.
including a hamster version.
Do you actually read them all, or is it
Yeah,
just
yeah.
to collect them?
I collect them, but they're nearly all the same. But if they're a different kind of telling of it,
Like a hamster
Can you
version?
explain the hamster version?
yeah,
please?
it's basically hamsters and gerbils that are dressed up as Mr. Darcy and Elizabeth and Lizzie. And, yeah. It's great. It's a great one. I've got a counting version for children.
my
I've got
goodness.
a puzzle version. I've got a game version. I've got an annotated. I've got a Marvel version. I've got an art version. And I do tend to read them, but I always have a copy of it when I'm travelling long distances. Like on holiday, I'll always have a copy of it with it alongside my Kindle. And I just keep starting from the beginning and going back. So I read it and then start. And it just makes me smile. It was the book that made me fall in love with reading.
Oh,
And that's the main reason
yeah.
I love the book. And it just started out as something silly and then it's just grown to this thing.
Christmas, does everybody buy you Pride and Prejudice books?
No, they don't. But they buy me silly
You got
stuff
them all?
like Mr. Darcy and bookmarks. I've also got the Funko Pop versions of Mr. Darcy, Lizzie, and Jane because it was Pride and Prejudice and Zombies. That was a film, so I've got those Funko Pops of that. So I do have very weird things and silly things.
What are
so, yeah.
Funko Pops?
Oh, they're like these little models, these rubber models that've got like little bodies and great big heads. Have you never seen a Funko Pop? You need to look it up. They do
You
so
probably
many
have.
different things.
Okay.
Yeah, you need to see it. It's great. So yeah, I have that as well. But I love all that kind of thing. But my role right now, what I'm doing is I work as a chaplain to the Modern Slavery Department within the Salvation Army. We call it Anti-Trafficking and Modern Slavery because that's the United Nations official title. So I've been doing it full time for 2 years, but I've been involved in the UK and in my officership probably 25 years working with victims and survivors of modern slavery, although it wasn't called that when I first started.
Okay, so let's get into today's topic. Before we talk about healing or hope, let's be honest about the starting point. And I think for many of us, anger towards God comes from real pain. Things that feel unfair or unanswered. And Estelle, in your role, you must walk alongside a lot of people who have faced unthinkable suffering, victims of trafficking, exploitation, injustice, etc. So why do you think so many people, even people of faith, reach a point when they feel angry at God?
I'm not going to just look at the trafficking thing. I'm going to tell you a bit about me because I think
Yeah, of
that's
course.
where I've come from. So just over 18 years ago, my parents died 2 weeks apart. So I lost my mum on the 7th of June and my dad died 24 hours after my mum's funeral. My dad had been ill, my mum was ill, and I was so angry. I was angry at my dad, if I'm honest. My dad had been the one who'd been ill when my mum died, and I sat there and I said, Dad, please don't leave me. I need you. And he went, I can't do it. And I need to know. He said, I'll try. And then as things went on, he just said to us one day, I need to go. I've seen God. And I just said to him, Dad, what am I going to do? He said, you'll be fine. And I was so angry. When my mum died, I was really angry, not just at God, at people. Because my mum died from heart failure and everybody wanted to keep hugging me. And for me, heart failure means you didn't have enough oxygen. And I wanted space. And it's actually affected me because I'm not a real hugger. I'm not a massive hugger now. And it's a bit strange because my best mate is a hugger. That's how she feels love and likes to hug. And I'm great at hugging people who I know it's their love language, but me, no. But I got so angry at God about it. And other situations happened that made me want to get angry. And I was like, oh, come on. How much pain do I have to actually put up with? And I realised that actually there were so many answers to prayer in that moment, but I didn't know then in that moment. And I think as Christians, sometimes we don't even talk about anger. We're scared. Oh, Jesus got really angry at the disciples. Why did you wake me up when I was sleeping, you pains in the butts? Do you know what I mean? They woke him up and he was annoyed because he was having a good snooze. I mean, we've all been woken up from a snooze and got angry, if we're honest. Do you not trust that you're going to be okay? And then when he turned the tables over, it was that anger of, we always try and put it in a nice way. But if we truly believe that Jesus was truly human and truly God, we've got to understand that he was angry. God got angry. He sent a flood. It's okay. He sent a flood to get, because they didn't work it out the first time. Then it just got worse and worse. So he sent his own son because they just weren't listening to him. So he thought, right, I've got to do something. Sent prophets and everything. And I think sometimes we forget that God, who is God, got angry enough to send a flood with the people not listening. Jesus turned tables and told people off for waking him up when he was sleeping. It's okay for me to get angry, but not for my own personal thing. So I got angry with God. And if I'm 100% honest with you, my anger with God was not about me. It wasn't about my parents dying. It was about me being at a loss without them. And I realised that somebody laughed at me because I actually realised one of the reasons I was angry because I didn't have my mum's recipe for food that she made. And that stupid stuff. It wasn't about the big thing. And my mum used to say that you will be okay and you'll be fine. And actually I am. I'm thriving. Here am I, I'm 18 years down the line and I'm doing really well. And I think sometimes as Christians we forget. We always expect everybody to be either, it's okay to be sad, it's okay to be happy, but we forget that anger is a thing. I think I don't get anger anymore for myself. I get angry for others and the injustice. Now, I got one of these little Jesuses that's in my car on my dashboard. So when I'm driving, I go, oh, hey, hello, Jesus. So that I don't actually lose it completely. And that Jesus is there to remind me that it's not for me to be angry.
I could do with one then.
Yeah, mate, the best thing on your dashboard. The amount of times I think I've probably saved myself from getting hit or something, but I want to get angry at the world. But what is my anger going to change? It's not going to bring anybody closer to Jesus. But allowing somebody else to be angry or sad and say every emotion is okay. I get angry at systems. People say to me, I don't get angry at the traffickers and the exploiters. No. I want them to have a Zacchaeus moment. I really want to connect with them. I want them to tell about the Jesus that will change their lives. And I probably should get angry at them, but I'm angry at a system that allows them not to be punished. A system that doesn't punish the right people. And I think sometimes anger is it's a healthy emotion. It's no worse than being it, because happiness can drive people nuts too, because you can be too happy sometimes, and that can be a false emotion too. But anger can actually instill into us to do something and change the world. That's why Harriet Tubman ended up changing the world. It's why Wilberforce ended up changing the world, because they saw injustice. It's why William Booth started the Salvation Army. He saw an injustice. It's why we get involved in things, because there's an injustice, and it's that emotion of anger that changes it.
You've mentioned a lot about it being okay, but so do you think it's okay to be angry with God, or is that crossing a line, or do we cross the line sometimes?
No, I was proper annoyed with him. I remember going into the garden, my parents' house, and my dad had died after my mum's funeral. And I remember sitting in the garden one day and just taking the chair out, a deck chair in their garden. They love it. They love their garden. And I just remember sitting there going, what on earth are you doing? What's happened, God? I am so angry with you, because I've gone from being an adult with 2 parents to an adult with no parents in the space of 2 weeks. And I was so angry at God. And I think it's okay for us to be angry at God. I think there's a sense understanding that it's anger and frustration. And I think it's okay to be angry at God, because he's the creator of the world. He's bigger than the world. He's bigger than me. And if God is bigger than the world and bigger than me, I think he can take me, little old me, having a go at him.
I think he wants us to be honest, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And I think he can handle that honesty. So...
But I think we struggle with the honesty of it more than he does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're not, I think if we come in, somebody came into church and they said to you, we have to go, hi, how are you? Well, I'll go, great. But what if you're really angry with God about a situation? I came into church and I went, hi, how are you? I'm really angry with God about this situation. Okay, let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about why you're angry, because we get scared of that. We don't want people to be in pain. It's because as Christians, we want people to be fixed from their pain. But we all know what it's like when you stub a toe. It's the greatest pain in the world when you stub your toe. And you're angry at the piece of furniture you've stubbed your toe on, like it's like the furniture's fault. Do you know what I mean? You think, what's that bit of furniture doing there? And actually you're going, oh, hang on a minute. And it's that understanding of what it's about.
So, Estelle, you've helped us see where anger towards God can come from. Talked a bit about your own story as well. But you must see it in others a lot. So can you tell us about a time when you felt angry or disappointed with God? What was kind of happening around you?
So I was the manager for a project in London called Faith House. It was an outreach project working with men and women in prostitution. We were going into saunas, massage parlours, brothels, lap dancing clubs. That's another whole story, and it was an exciting story of faith. And then one year it was Easter, and we had news on the Friday that one woman had died. I don't know whether they died, they were killed, or whatever. Do you know what I mean? It was an accident. Mm-hmm. One woman was definitely an accident. One woman on Good Friday, died. The woman on Easter Saturday was killed by a lorry, a juggernaut. It reversed, and that was that. The Easter Sunday, another woman, I think she probably was, it was a mixture of killed or whatever. She was like, she fell off a second floor balcony. And then on Easter Monday, another lady died. And I was so angry with God. I was like, I've just got to know these women. What on earth are you doing, God? This is too much. I'm so angry with the world that 4 women had died in one weekend. At Easter as well. I was like, come on, 4 days, 3 holy days and a holiday, and one's died on every day. What are you doing to me? And I remember it so clearly. And my colleague who I was working with was not an officer, but was a woman of God. She said to me, Estelle, did you tell them about Jesus? And I went, you what? She went, did we tell them about Jesus? Have we told them who Jesus is? And I went, well, yeah. She said, well, then it's not anything you can change. As long as you've done your part and been Jesus and told them about Jesus, then what lifestyle they choose to live is their choice. And I suppose my anger with God was more a frustration that they hadn't left prostitution and moved and changed their lives. I used to get angry at them, saying, you realise how much more valuable you are than the price that you charge to a client? Do you realise you're more important than a drug cost of cocaine or heroin or whatever they were using? And sometimes I think my anger with God can be, for others, is because they're missing out on the good stuff. They're missing out on the life that they can be living and the people they can be. And I think I get angry at God sometimes in the injustice of the world of modern slavery. So we think the ballpark figure for the world is over 50 million slaves.
Wow.
That's a lot. When you think about that ballpark figure of over 50 million plus, they're the ones we know about. When somebody is pulled out and the police do the rescuing, I don't do any rescuing. The police go in and they will rescue women and pull them out, and men, because we know in the UK there's a lot more men at the moment being referred into our system than women, and British nationals being referred into our system. When they are rescued and supported and helped by the police, the prosecution level to the exploiters and the traffickers is so low. That's what angers me right now, is that we're not getting convictions. We're not getting the prosecution because it's so complicated, but it's so low because it's so difficult. Why? And I get angry because I need the law to be changed so that the victims themselves, the survivors, do not have to testify for prosecution to make sense. That really annoys me. But how that happens is way above my brain power. The percentage of prosecutions is so low, not just in the UK, but internationally. And there are things that annoy me and things that I could get really angry about. And I do. And that might be what fuels me every day.
Yeah.
To get up and change something. And to keep, that's why I speak about it all the time. People are fed up with me talking about, I can do one small thing. Stop shopping at Shein and Temu, who have both been investigated for modern slavery and for that. And go out and buy tea bags and rice and chocolate and vegetables or whatever that have got fair trade stickers on them. Buy the food that's paying people properly. Buy independent, buy local. If you make one change in your life, you can help us. And it's me. My anger gets fueled by that one moment. That's what fuels me to keep doing and changing stuff, if that makes sense.
So during those times when you've been angry with God, I know for me, once I was angry with God and I was close to pulling away from God, have you ever felt like that, or has it made you draw closer to Him?
Oh, 100%. It's never made me walk away. Because I'm like, the only person I know who can change this is God. Mm. It reminds. I always think of that story at my hardest moments when I was so angry with God. I had a group of friends who are still very close to me now, who reminded me of that story of Moses when he went to go and get the 10 Commandments from the top of the mountain, and he was told to wait upon God, and his arms were up in the air, and the point he was getting exhausted. And as his arms were coming down, Joshua and Aaron went and held his arms up. And there've been times when I've been angry with God that I felt that there have been other people holding me up as I've waited upon God for an answer. And I've got prayers that I'm praying now that I've been praying for 20 years and I still haven't had an answer to. I mean, why am I still in a role? Why am I still fighting modern slavery? 25 years I've been fighting this flipping thing. But the reality being, it's got to be bigger than me. I can't do it. It's not me who's going to win the battle. It's got to be God winning the battle. And so I think that when I'm angry, I'm so exasperated with the world. The only way I can turn is to God. Yeah. I'm so exasperated with everything that's happened. It's Him I turn to. And that's the only way I can change things. Because He is a God who is a God of the impossible.
Yeah. I think that part of that crying out in anger or speaking to God about that is that you're connecting with God in those moments anyway and having that conversation, aren't you, rather than distancing yourself, which, would only be a bad thing. So I think sometimes that anger or crying out, we see it a lot of times in the Bible, don't we, where, different characters have cried out in different ways. And so I think, we're okay to do that, and I think God wants us to do that.
There's a really funny part of translation of Exodus chapter 14, verse 14. It's one of my favourite verses. And it's when Moses has got the Israelites and they're about to cross the Red Sea and they're so angry with Moses because they're like, we're going to die here now, we're going to drown, and we're not going to get out. And it says in most of the translations, you just need to be still, God will fight for you. But in the Message version, it says, the Lord will fight for you, you just keep your mouth shut. And I love the idea that God said to me, Estelle, shut up, let me get on with the battle.
Yeah.
And I think we often see that anger as us shouting at God, and sometimes he must get really annoyed and frustrated with me. And when Peterson translated that verse meant so much to me in one situation in my private life, but it's made so much of a difference. It's my favourite scripture for personal reasons, for me. Not for my ministry, but for me. Still, you just let me do the fighting. Shut up, because you're actually going to get in the way. And I think sometimes we forget that we might get in the way of God doing his work. So we can be angry. He knows what's going on. He knows we're angry, but we're not angry because he's not doing anything. We're angry because we can't change it. And that's when I think we turn to God and lean on him more, because then he will remind us, shut up, let me get on with what I'm trying to do. You're just in the way at the minute, causing a problem. And we all know what happened. And it was when Moses said that. Well, we know that's what the writers said. Moses said that. And they were fine. And then Moses could actually get on with doing what he was trying to do, was getting them to safety. And that was when he put his foot. Once he told them to shush, he could put his foot in the Red Sea and it separated. He could actually move forward. And I think that's what God wants us to do, shut up, so that he can actually help us move forward.
So Estelle, thanks for being so open. Your story reminds us that God doesn't only meet us when everything's neat and tidy and fixed, but also in the middle of messy situations. So from what you've seen and in your own life, how does God meet people right in the middle of pain?
Genuinely, I think we don't even realise he's in that middle of that pain. I think once you're in the middle of a horrible situation where you're angry and you're in pain, you don't know what's going on. I will say honestly that God sent people to me.
Yeah.
When I've been in some of the most painful and angry moments of my life, and when I shouted at God, when I felt just didn't want anybody around and didn't understand what was going on in my personal life, I felt lifted. I go back to that Moses idea. I felt as though something was holding me there, and it's the weirdest thing. I can't explain it. Felt that God was holding me in the midst of that. But you don't realise that. It's so much like we talk about within the church about a testimony. And it's about us talking about what's happened in the tests and understanding that. And we only sometimes recognise it when we're out. I've got friends who I can phone up and I can shout about, I can moan at, but they will friends who will hold me accountable, both Christian and Christian friends. One of my colleagues and one of my best mates is Shell Huggins, who's the mission director for Strawberry Field, and I'll often phone her and go, ah! And she'll go, okay, but what about this idea? I go, oh, shush. That's a good idea. That'll sort it out, won't it? It's that idea of us having a faith and a knowledge, but also saying to someone, I need you to hold me accountable. When my anger spills over to indifference, when my anger is no longer healthy, because let's be honest, anger can be unhealthy too. It can cause pain to a lot of people. But anger can also become justice. Situations where we turn to it. Having friends who'll make sure I don't go past the point where I've got, okay, so you can be angry for a bit. Now what's moving on? And now I'm like, do I want to spend that energy being angry anymore? Do I need to be angry about this situation? And it is that whole phrase of choosing your battle. What am I going to fight? Is it going to make a difference if I fight it or not? So there's a real conversation around that piece as well. That idea of, I think God in the midst of us is, I think as we mature as Christians and as human beings and as people in our world, we learn to understand what is the point of fighting. Is it a battle worth fighting? Probably not.
I think it's interesting because people sometimes flip it, don't they, and say that, why is God allowing this to happen? Why does God, allow suffering to happen, for example? But I think I don't see it as God's allowing it to happen, but He's helping us through those times. So He's with us during those times of pain or anger. If we didn't have God, then I'm not sure what we'd do sometimes. We've talked about it before, haven't we? I think it's just remembering that God is with us through those times. And yes, we might be angry, but we can still rely on His character.
And we don't have to understand about suffering. I really cannot work out. Over the last few weeks, I've had 4 friends who've been diagnosed with cancer.
Gosh, wow.
Right? That's a lot.
Yeah.
And I could be really angry about it. But like, it's not for me to be angry. It's for them to be angry.
Yeah.
God will deal with that and support them. And why does God allow people to suffer? I have no idea. I have a list of about 30 questions. It used to be 10. It's grown. I want to know why God worked out that He thinks the sky should be blue and the grass should be green. I know there are scientists in the world who can tell me. I don't care about that. But I want to know why grass is green and the sky is blue. Why is it not the other way around?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Why?
Well, so these questions you're going to ask God, are you?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's my thing. Well, because I think I've got to put them down somewhere because nobody else is going to answer me the question like God will. Probably won't even think, oh, God, I had the question for you. Oh, no, don't worry about it. It's all right. It's all right. I like this. But where we are now is great. I don't need to know that. Do you know what I mean? It's that kind of thing. But I think it's okay for us to question God. I think that's the thing in our anger, our frustration and in our pain. It's okay to say, why the heck is this happening to me? Because we're also going to be the first ones who will say, can you pray to someone? Can you pray that God's going to take this pain away? Who of us has not done that when you've gone, I'm in pain, take me toothache, I hear it. Can you pray that this pain goes? And I think sometimes saying, God, I don't know why suffering happens. Well, no, I don't need to know why suffering happens. I just know it happens. And there are some questions that are bigger than me. And I agree with you. I don't think God does let it happen. I think at the moment, as we look at the world, we know that man is involved in most of the suffering in the world is man-made. And that's selfish and that's egotistical. And when I get rid of that ego, my ego, and serve Christ and live like Christ, I have a phrase, stop doing Jesus, but start being Jesus in my community. Then the anger and all of that disappears. The disconnected thing disappears because I've started acting and loving like Jesus instead of acting and loving like Estelle. Yeah. You took my toys away, so I'm going to have you. Do you know what I mean? Like kids, I wanted to play that game. Well, we're not. And I think sometimes we shy away from the God who calls us to discipline. But it doesn't mean He doesn't listen and hear our anger and our frustration and our pain, because most of it comes out of that.
Next time on This Is Salvation.
Jesus was a human man, I'm a woman, but my aim is to be like Jesus. I have to think that about the people I work with, the survivors I work with, the people I sit with, that God is going to protect them. I was in a major car accident 7 years ago that stopped a whole load of festivities for my 50th birthday. I was told I would be in pain for the rest of my life. I'm not. But God must have had something in there. Find the people you can be angry with and say, I am so angry at God, but I need you to pray. Because I'm in pain, I'm suffering, and I really don't like Him right now. And it's okay for us to live in that valley. It's okay for us to live in that darkness. Because actually, that's where we come out stronger. If we're all happy all the time, we don't understand what pain is. I think there can sometimes be a guilt that I've got through this and I'm alive and I've survived this pain, and suddenly I have to love everybody. Heck no. We love others in the name of Jesus, but don't mean we have to trust all the world all of a sudden. I'm not saying you suddenly become the most trusting person in the world. I'm saying that what you do is you know where and how, and you rely on God a lot more to guide you and understand you. Sat in a lap dancing club in Euston Station and talking to a woman, and she went, why would I trust you Christians? Because every time I've trusted one of you, you've just spouted horrible things at me. And I go, yeah, I wouldn't trust us either. And she looked at me, I said, because actually you're trusting the human part. Yeah. We have got to be better representatives of God in our world. Let's be Christians who actually talk about the good, the bad and the ugly. Because the reality being, every single one of us that has got an ugly story. People don't leave church because they've lost faith in God. People lose church, in my eyes, because they've lost faith in what the Christians they see in church. Because they're terrible, terrible witnesses to who God is. So we have to pull our socks up. We have to be better representatives, because I represent the King of Kings. I represent the Lord of Lords.